You ready?
Sounds
5
good.
things you didn't know you could do. All right. So let's see. What are these 5 mysterious things? Here they come, everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Simplify your life. That's a big word. I understand that. With user libraries. So what user libraries is a concept within MarkMagic. It's been around forever on our MarkMagic AS400 software, as well as the platform-independent MarkMagic software, which runs on Windows and Linux and all that stuff. All have this idea of a user library. Most folks, well, a good chunk of folks, use the default MarkMagic user library. People on the line may be familiar with this, called MarkMag Data, MRKMAG-DTA. And some customers put all their formats and all their graphics into that one library. So Ken's going to show you, as soon as I'm done going through this list, we're going to shift over to Ken. He's going to show you live use of user libraries. But he's going to show you how you can create other user libraries in MarkMagic, some for production formats, some for maybe test formats. So they're not hitting each other. So you can test really in your live environment with just sample formats. So it's a great way to maintain that separate from production. So it's a really good concept. Number 2, I think a lot of people probably know about this, but we wanted to show it. Export and import of formats. So basically, you can move formats or graphic jobs or text blocks from one user library to another user library. And what's the last word here? Platforms. Yes, even different platforms you can move stuff around. So you may have MarkMagic running on the AS400, and you're like, you know what, we have this other office and this other place, and they're running on a Windows environment where we love MarkMagic. You can actually take your AS400 formats and bring them down to a MarkMagic PI instance running on Windows or Linux or whatever, and you don't have to redesign or do anything, and it's all through the same exact JMagic interface. So he's going to show you that, and it's pretty cool. 3, how to create a rule using our print transformer option without any programming, 0 programming. Ken's going to show you how you can start emailing labels or forms or anything within MarkMagic, things that you would normally print. That, like, you know what? Maybe these customers they have an email address. You know, instead of printing them, just email them to their address. He's going to show how you can automatically do that with 0 programming, without any changes to your code. 4, and this kind of goes in with number 3 also, the PDFing and emailing. A lot of folks don't know that any format within MarkMagic, it could be a label, a ZBRA label, it could be a form, a statement, invoice, any of that stuff that you're used to printing. You can keep on printing it, but MarkMagic has the capability to actually create an Adobe PDF of that form also at any time. So you can email it. So maybe your customers overseas, they need a bunch of shipping labels or item labels that maybe you're printing out now and you're putting them in an envelope and shipping them over there. You can just have MarkMagic, you know what, send them as a PDF, a little PDF, have a 1,000-page PDF, send it to them, and they can print them out there right on the spot. We have all that flexibility within us. And number 5, duplexing, one of my favorites, printing on the back of a sheet of paper. So there's a couple quick ways to do that. We chose one of the ways, it's FormWeaver. There's actually another way to do it too, but Ken's going to show you how to do it within FormWeaver. We can have those terms and conditions or instructions or any other information, really a totally different format, print on the back side of maybe your pick list or your invoice, and how all that is done. I'm going to hand over to Ken in just a second. I'm going to give you just a little bit of a warning, because Ken and I looked at the group of folks that were attending, and a lot of you folks are on the AS400 side of things. So we've chose to show some of this more on the green screen side. That's what Ken's going to be showing. But keep in mind, anything he's doing on the green screen, you could do it in JMagic through the WYSIWYG Designer. And so please keep that in mind on any platform, AS400 or the PI instance of MarkMagic. Okay? And please feel free to shoot over some questions using that question option. So I'm going to make Ken the presenter, give it over to him, and he's going to start going through these 5 items.
All right, thanks, Chuck. Good afternoon, morning, everybody, if you're on the West Coast. I got my green screen session here, and I want to start off showing user libraries, explaining how the benefit behind those. Let me just start up my MarkMagic here. A lot of you, everyone should know how to fire up MarkMagic. And the first thing that you'll notice right in the middle, user library. MRKMAG-DTA. That is the library Chuck mentioned earlier. That is a default library that comes with MarkMagic. It can be used as a user library where you create formats and graphics and all that good stuff. A lot of people already, create all their formats there and even have it in production using MarkMag data as a user library. And it's a very important library in MarkMagic, and it's not recommended to actually do that. So that's where the user library comes into play. We would like you to create a library and move formats into a separate environment. And the easiest way to do that, I think, is just type the new library name right in the middle here.
Create it for you right on the fly, right?
Yeah, the library doesn't even have to exist on the server. So I'm just going to type in webinar 316 for the date and hit enter. And you'll see it saying, there's not even a library with that name. Create the library, yes or no? And I'll just do yes. And it's creating a new MarkMagic library where you can make new formats, import new formats, labels and designs, all that. If we toggle and look, it is empty right now. We'll fix that in the next section. But it is a new user library ready for you to work in. So I don't know if, Chuck, you want to talk about the production and development.
Yeah, so one of the
yeah,
I would love to. So the big deal with, for me anyway, user libraries, I don't know if anyone, hopefully a lot of you folks are Seinfeld episodes or Seinfeld fans. One of the episodes, George was talking about worlds colliding. He had his work friends and then his friends outside of work, and they can never get together because if they collide, it's going to be a problem. That's a user library. So you have your production user library running production, and you could have as many other user libraries as you want, but maybe have a development user library where you can make changes of formats and test those changes without affecting that other world, that production world. And maybe some of you folks have multiple companies that you're representing or that you're producing forms for. You can have a user library for each of the companies. There's no limit to this. And one other feature within user libraries is that print time, MarkMagic, you can tell MarkMagic to actually search the user's library list at print time, and whichever user library is high up on the list, it's going to find it, and it finds the format that it needs. It's going to pull it from there. So again, you can switch, you put your development user lib on top of production and test out any new changes that you have, and then you'll be able to export and import those changes into development once you're done.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's the idea is just you have copies of libraries in one, copies of formats in one, and copies of formats in another, and depending on which one's higher on the list, like Chuck said, it makes testing things a lot easier. So I'm going to start MarkMagic back up in another user library that I have called Webinar that has a lot of my example formats in it that I love to show. And actually, I really quickly did that, sorry, but if I do start MarkMag and then space and then the library name, that's a really quick way to get into the library right away.
And if you mistype the library, it'll say, hey, do you want to create this new library? If it's a library not on your system, and we prompt you and say, hey, do you sure you want to make this? And the same is true in JMagic. You can start in JMagic and create new user libraries, not just on the green screen. Yep.
And I've got my own personal library, KWH, and everyone's got their own for testing and messing around. And so this library webinar, you can see there's a bunch of demo formats, some zebra labels, some HP laser forms. I want to bring some of these over to the user library that I created, webinar 316. And that brings us
number 2. You're getting to number 2 right now, aren't you?
Yes.
Exporting. Yes.
Exporting and importing.
There it is. I knew it.
So what we're going to do is export a bunch of things from webinar to a save file on the server and import them to the other library. And very easy tools to do that in MarkMagic. Again, Chuck said that this can all be done also in JMagic. There is an export tool and graphical interface in JMagic to do that. I'll do it here just because I'm already here. So utilities, export. And all the different options here, I'll just run through them real quick. We're going to save this to a save file. We're going to just export everything into one save file. The next option down is, because on the next screen, we're actually presented with a list of all the different MarkMagic objects that can be exported. And I'm basically just saying, show me everything in my library here. Star all. I mean, I can F4 and show you that there's jobs you can export, formats, show me just graphics on the next screen, but I'm just going to go through them all and pick and choose which ones I want to export. Same thing with these next two options here, just show me everything. The save file doesn't even have to exist already. It could if you've got your own personal save file that you use, but you can just put a name here and a library, and we'll make the save file. Target release is the IBM OS release of the system that you're going to be importing it to. Since we're staying on the same system, start current is the option there. So I'll hit enter. This library doesn't have any MarkMagic monitors, so we're going to do continue, F19, to go to the next list of objects, which are MarkMagic jobs. There's a list of jobs in the library. I'm going to bring over a job. It's at the bottom here. It's a job that I'm going to use in number 5 later on for the duplex example. So I'm just going to export this MarkMagic job. It's got a print command in there that we use for printing forms. So there's just a really simple print command stored in this job. So I know again I did that quickly. So if you weren't watching, I put a 1 there, which means select the job. And if I put a 1 there and hit enter, it makes it selected on the right. So once it's selected, after putting a 1 and enter, then you can F19 to continue. And here's a list of formats in the library. I'll pick and choose a few that I want to bring over. There's a format here that I'm going to use in the next example, a statement format. So there's a 1 there. I'm going to go down and pick some more. I'll put a 1 next to a terms and conditions format that I want to export. And let's put 1s next to some labels. You can put 1s next to a bunch of things and just hit enter, 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 and they all become star selected. F19 to continue to the next. This is a real neat thing too here. You can see there's already a 1 there. And that's because MarkMagic noticed that on one of the formats that you exported on the previous screen, there was a graphic on that format. And it's saying, hey, you might want to bring this graphic along too, because if you don't, there's going to be a missing graphic when you open it up in the other library. So it's suggesting by putting a 1 there. So I'm just going to hit enter, make the graphic selected. And another neat thing too, when we go to the next, continue to the rules. It noticed that the format that I'm exporting is involved in a rule set that I've pre-created. And it's saying, hey, you might want to bring along this rule set too. And that's, again, something I'm going to show you in the rules section.
It's just so smart. MarkMagic is so smart that actually knows to look and grab these things for you. And again, you can do all this in the JMagic screen as well, not just the green screen.
So I'm going to hit enter, make it selected, F19 to continue. And the last object that we present you with is text blocks. I'm just going to continue past that. I don't need to export any text block.
Cool.
F7 or Shift F7, F19 to continue, and you can see at the bottom everything's been exported to that 1 save file.
And I'm just going to I know you already talked about this, but he happened to choose save file, which is good AS400 type thing to do if you're going to go from one system to another. And if you notice, another option for exporting, you can export to a PC file, so it can go right there to the IFS. You can grab it from there and email it. And when you do this through the JMagic interface, it actually creates the export as an XML file that can then be sent over to another system and then imported. So we have all those options. We just had to pick one to show you guys. This is the one we went with.
A lot of different options. Yeah, we could probably just spent the whole half hour on all the different things. But for this one we're going to save file. So what's next is to switch over now to the other library that I created.
The empty one. This one's empty.
So I'm just typing in the name again in the middle here. And then now that the library is already a user library, when I hit enter, it's just going to right over. So there's no creating library. It's already been created. You can switch between libraries, all you want. So I switched over, and all that's left is to import now. It's kind of just the exact reverse process. Utilities import, I for import. And it's, where do you want to import from? So there's that save file. Again, which objects do you want to import? Just let's bring, show me everything in the save file, bring them all in. And the one option here that affects the import and what you see is replace, add, or select here for this replace or add records. It's really just an option to say bring everything in, overwrite anything that's there. I don't care. So that's the start add is just going to bring everything in.
So like an example of that would be, so maybe I'm in my development user library, I've made some changes to my packing list, and I've exported and I want to import it into my production user library. In that example, I would either say replace, because that format already exists and I just want to replace it, or I may even do star select, because star select, MarkMagic will actually prompt you during the imports, like, hey, this one already exists in this production user library, do you want to replace it? And you can say yes or no. So we have all those options in there.
Yeah, a bunch of options. So right here, since the library is empty, we know that already, I'm just going to do add, and it brings everything in, and you just have to specify the save file. So it's going to zoom right through, bring everything in,
and just to show that there's no smoke and mirrors, you'll see
F10.
in here. Yeah.
There's all the formats, and jobs and graphics have also been brought in. And that's on the AS400 side. Yeah, Chuck, if you want to mention the PI thing while I pull that over here.
All right. So the other part of this, and we're spending a little bit more time on the importing and exporting piece, so the other ones we're going to go a little quicker on, but the rest of this number 2 is the other platforms idea. So what Ken has opened up now is JMagic, which hopefully everybody knows about. That's not something you didn't know about. That's our WYSIWYG GUI designer, and it's free. You just install it on your PC, and JMagic can connect right to the AS400 and do stuff, right to MarkMagic PI running up in the cloud or in other instances on Windows and all that stuff. What Ken's showing is this particular JMagic, if you look down at the bottom, you see that IP address, it's actually connected to MarkMagic PI for the platform independent, the Java-based one. And he's going to show where you can use this JMagic to actually it's actually connected to 2 servers at the same time, where maybe you have a bunch of formats on your AS400 that you want to bring down to your PI instance. Check this out. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, sorry, I'm connected to my MarkMagic install on my Windows computer. I've actually got MMPI installed on my PC here. It's not even hooked up to an AS400, my JMagic here. So that's really neat. So, but what we can do is use the import table option under the utilities. I can directly connect to my AS400 where MarkMagic AS400 is installed.
From this JMagic that's already connected to the MarkMagic PI one. You're going to connect to the AS400.
Connect, yeah.
It's just
and
connected.
We show you all of the user libraries in MarkMagic AS400, and then here's the one we just made.
Yeah, you just made that, yep.
And I'm just going to say extract and bring everything over from that library into my MMPI platform independent world. So I'll do import, and it's bringing all of the formats over in jobs and graphics.
That's actually nicer to look at than the green screen piece, I'll have to admit. It's a little bit, nicer, cleaner.
Oh, absolutely. So,
yeah,
all my forms and graphics and labels. So those all got brought in. So these are all the ones that I exported to that other library. We now brought them over to Windows environment MarkMagic PI.
Very cool. All right.
Good. We're going to shut this one down for now. Yep.
Okay. We're going to go on to number 3. We spent, like I said, a little bit more extra time on number 2. So number 3, he's going to stay with JMagic, and he's going to show you how to create a print transformer rule to basically say, take something that you're printing every single day and email it to some customers where you have an email address. So he's starting up JMagic, connecting to the AS400 this time. It could be any instance, doesn't have to be on the AS400. This is what we chose to do. Connecting to the new user library he just made.
So when we start JMagic now, same as before on the MarkMagic side, you can now pick that new user library that you created and start JMagic in that new user library. That's what I'm doing there. Very cool. It's a little bit bigger for you guys.
Looks good.
And I'm going to open up a format that I used in the previous webinar where we talked about using Form Composer to look up extra information from a physical file. If anyone remembers, if it was on the last one, this format is designed pulling data from a held spool file. It's a form, it's a statement form. All these gray fields here pull data from a held spool file. And what we wanted to do was use some information in that spool file to look up information from a database file and bring it into the format. And that's exactly what we did here with this email address, this CS email field. This is actually a database field, and we're using a customer number to grab email information from the database. And if I do a quick print preview here, and we can see the email address being populated of all of our employees here. Chuck's there. There's Phil. So every page here, you can see the email address is changing based on the customer number changing. So that's important to remember. So each page has its own email address. So the neat thing now, what we can use that email address now to trigger an email to happen automatically, and that's done using rules in MarkMagic, JMagic. It's accessible under Print Transformer, available rule sets. This is where the interface is to handle all of that and set all of that up. I've got a rule created here already that we can use as an example. If we look at the rule, edit it. In this first screen here where we set up some general parameters of the rule set itself, there's one important thing. I don't want to get too down into the nitty-gritty, but it's an important thing to remember that each page has its own email address on it. We don't want all 5 pages going to one person and everyone getting the wrong statements. We want each page to go to each email address, and for that to happen, you have to break each page out into its own print command, and you need one PDF for each page rather than one PDF with all 5 in it. So to do that in rules, we call that bursting, and we can break it up or burst against the email address. So for every unique email, there will be one unique PDF created. So that's done here. If we now dig a little bit deeper into the rule itself, we can see that there are options within the rules, and inside of the options is where the fun is. So we look inside the option, resize this a little bit for you guys. Inside of options are the tests and actions. So when a test is true, the actions are performed. And if we look at the test, you can already see it up there, what I've got, but if we drill down a little bit further into editing the test, you can see that I've set the rule up to look at that CS email. Remember, this is data that got looked up from a database. This isn't data on your spool file. This got brought in using another awesome feature in MarkMagic, the Form Composer. So we're going one step further with this and actually using this data. Using the data and rules here. So the email, we're testing it if it contains an @ symbol. Okay. And you can see there's a bunch of awesome little options here. Greater than, less than, equals, doesn't contain, starts with. So there's so many options with this. But for this, we're just checking if the data that's coming in from the database has an @ symbol. And usually we can assume that that's an email address. Mm-hmm. So when that happens, and this is number 4 now, sort of. So I'm kind of mixing it in here. The option for PDF emailing. When it's an @ symbol, change the job from a regular print job that you normally sending it to a laser printer. Change that job just for that instance. Remember, these are being broken up by email. Just for that instance, change it to a PDF email by switching just these few print commands or print parameters. And those, if I list them off here, these are all part of the print label command in MarkMagic. Emulated device needs to be toggled to star PDF. Normally that's star none for when you're just doing regular print jobs. When you do PDFs, you need to specify a path and a file name. So right here we're specifying print to file. This is an IFS path, and then we're putting in the file name .pdf. Another really neat option here in the rules engine is the ability to use live data as print parameters. So I'm actually taking in that customer email address and passing it to the print command using rules here. So we're setting the primary email to CS email. So whatever email address is in there gets passed to the print command. And the rest of these we just flushed it out with a custom email subject, a message body we put in here, and then the sender. So it looks like it's coming from an important email address, info@cybra.com, so people can reply. So just when CS email contains an @ symbol will the print job switch over to sending an email. And I mean, I want to mention to you that it's not that you must use print transformer to send PDF emails. All of these print parameters, print commands, you could just simply take your existing print jobs that you might be running coding the print label command and just toggle these over from *none to PDF and make your own PDFs. So this is just one way to do it without programming, which I feel is really neat.
Yeah.
So I'll hit OK here, and that's the rule. So now when you use that rule, when you print, you'll get an email, and I've got I've got a PDF here, just to show you one that was created, and this was one that went to Phil. So.
Right. And then if for that particular customer, if there was no email address, it would just print like it does now, again, with the 0 program. That's just one example. Okay. Oh, okay. And there's a label. You can PDF a label instead of printing it. Yep.
Yep. So
nice.
That's just you've taken your regular print command and setting emulated device to start PDF, and all of a sudden you got your labels as a PDF. Really, really neat stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah. That was number 3 and 4 all in one there. So the next thing, if
you want to, yeah, go ahead, jump over that. And another thing with the PDF that some people don't realize is that, number one, color's free. So you may not be printing in color, but when you PDF stuff, you can have color formats in PDF. So you have that nice little extra pizzazz when the PDF goes out to the customer. And you don't necessarily have to email. We have customers that use this PDF feature simply for archiving. So they go ahead and print and maybe stuff them in an envelope and send them to the customers, but they also PDF them, and using that interface that Ken was showing you, you can name the PDF part of their company name, part of the date, and all that stuff. So the name of the PDF is very smart, or their invoice number is part of it, and just go ahead and archive it. So the rest of your staff, accounts payable, accounts receivable, whoever, can go and find that 3 months down the road and grab it and email it if need be. So there's all kinds of ways to use the PDF feature without any programming. So we going to number 5?
Yes, number 5, duplexing with FormWeaver.
So,
okay. I mean, everyone knows what duplexing is, putting extra information on the back of a printed page. The printer needs to have a duplexer in it. In MarkMagic, in the same print command, I don't know if anyone's dug into it and noticed that there is a duplex yes or no in the print command. Setting it to yes will make MarkMagic print on the front and back. That doesn't help though when you're printing, let's say, this form here. If I'm just keeping this form open, if you were to just print 5 pages of this, 6 pages of this, you would get 3 pages. Statements for one customer would be on the front. Statement for the next customer would be on the back. That's silly. You wouldn't do that. So maybe you want to insert an extra format every time you print 1 page. Just slip 1 extra format in there in between each one. And I've got a format here that I've designed, and FormWeaver allows you to take another format, this HP PCL5 terms format that I've got.
Our famous gift cards. Oh, my family loved my MarkMagic gift cards. My son's on his second MarkMagic install. He loves it.
Oh yeah, put it towards any purchase, no problem.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got this terms and conditions, and first thing you might be noticing is how the heck did Ken type all this out? What's he doing there? If you remember from our last webinar, we talked about text blocks, and this is a text block here in the middle. So if you're interested in this and learn more about that, check out our website. We've got the video from the last webinar talking about text blocks. You can see this is just one big element that's all typed out in MarkMagic. So I would expect you to use a text block on your terms and conditions form. So this format, I'm actually going to insert in between every regular printed page, and we're going to use a different command to print, and it's basically, in a nutshell, it's FormWeaver. Let me just paste the command here. Oops.
Yeah.
clicking them.
So yeah. So and then if you think about like the duplexing and what Ken said is it's kind of a big deal slipping it in because
Mm-hmm.
normal printing. If you just said I'm going to run my statements, these 1,000 statements, and I'm going to duplex, you just have a statement on page on the front page and you have a statement on the back, and
Yeah, I
you'd
mentioned
have,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So so we're almost creating data or creating a format out of thin air. There's no extra page in your spool file that you have to add or any changes, any program changes. There's no extra row in your database you have to add if you're printing that way. We're just doing it all for you. We're going to add this extra format for you right on the back.
Mm-hmm. So the Form Weaver add-on option is really just this command, run mf job, run multi-format job. And it takes an existing print job that you might be running already and allows you to combine formats together and also do what we're talking about, which is printing multiple times per input page with different formats. So I've got my runmf job command here configured in such a way that we're saying for every page we print again with the same data, but use another format. So we're printing once with statement, that's normal, but then we're printing again with terms, the terms format that I just showed you. So with our print job configured with duplex yes,
Mm-hmm.
when this happens, just think about it. You're going to get statement on the front, terms on the back, statement on the front, terms on the back. So every page you print, you're going to get that terms slipped in there and on the back. So and then you end up getting, now this is another PDF, but it gives you a really good visual of where we're at here. So this is a statement.
On the back is that.
Terms
Yeah,
on the back.
exactly. Terms and conditions.
Statement for the second page, terms on the back using Form Weaver. Statement, again, terms on the back. So you can see if I printed this, that's what you'd get. And some of you might be thinking that, okay, this PDF, if we did this as a PDF rather than printing, changing the gears a little bit, if you were to email this out, it would be a little bit silly to have terms like this on every page.
I agree.
And I'm going to, leave you with a little teaser for the next webinar. Look for that in the future, where we can use rules in a different way to say, just give me the terms as the last page.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it in between every one. Just on the last, like we have here. So look for that soon.
Yeah, that's a great feature because that's just a point and click thing too. I know exactly what you're talking about there, Ken.
So Form Weaver, run enough job, really neat stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Appreciate it. And we actually went over our time, even though we're trying to be quick. So we're into we have a few questions, and we only have time for really one because I don't want to keep people longer than we promised. The question is a good one. When we're doing the exporting and importing at the beginning, isn't there an option within MarkMagic when you just, for a format, if you choose copy format, can you copy it to another user library without exporting it?
It's a really good question. The copy feature under format then copy, yes, that'll move just the format though. And the problem with that is if there's a graphic on that format, that doesn't get brought over. So the exporting and importing, if your format has graphics on it, we recommend using export import to move formats around.
Yep, exactly. Or if you're going to do another platform and all that stuff, it's a way to export and import. But that is correct. If it's just a format, you can just choose copy and go to another user library. It's really quick. You don't have to create an export or anything.
And the format copy is just one at a time too. So.
Right. Yep, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. You can do massive amounts using the commands. So, as promised, we're gonna stop here. But real quick, please take a look at my screen. Hopefully, everybody sees it. We're always interested in getting your suggestions, our customer suggestions, not only for new features and functions. And please don't be shy with new ideas or concepts. Please email that stuff to help@cybra.com. But even ideas for webinars, we really value your opinion on all that. So please, again, don't be shy. Let us know. We look forward to meeting with you real soon. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks, Ken.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome.
Bye.